nestled in the rolling hills of the Eifel region in Germany, lies a ribbon of winding tarmac, over 20 kilometers of fast straights and sweeping bends, a colosseum of motorsport designed to test man and machine. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Green Hell, the Nürburgring. When we refer to the Nürburgring, there's actually two different sections. The Nordschleife, which is probably the most famous, but there's also a GP track. The Nordschleife is over 20 kilometers long and has 73 bends. The original Nürburgring was constructed back in 1925, and the first event ever held was in 1927. F1 legend Jackie Stewart dubbed the Nordschleife the Green Hell, and rightfully so. It is, first of all, very green, tucked away in the Eifel region of Germany amongst these beautiful rolling hills. But of course, it's also a hell. Back in the day, it was one of the most dangerous tracks ever. In 1976, Niki Lauda proposed that they boycott the race due to the track being wet in many regions and the lack of fire marshals and safety equipment and rescue vehicles. Nevertheless, the race went on, and unfortunately, on the second lap, his Ferrari swerved off, hit the embankment, and burst into flame. He suffered serious injuries, was burnt really badly, and lapsed into a coma. There was never any more F1 races held on the Nordschleife since. In 1984, the brand new Grand Prix track was constructed, which was much shorter, much safer, and frankly, according to many people's opinions, much less characterful. But to launch the new track, there was an exhibition race with A-list drivers participating, guys like James Hunt, Sterling Moss, Ayrton Senna, and Niki Lauda himself. They all drove these really cool Mercedes 190e 2.316s. But nevertheless, over the years, the Nordschleife has claimed over 200 lives, and even to this day, yearly, about 3 to 10 people meet their end driving the Green Hell. Today, many competitions are still held at the Nordschleife, like the 24 hours race, but it's also very popular for the tourist drive. Now that we've learned a little bit about the track, let's take a look at the car we will be driving. It's the Volkswagen Golf GTI Performance. This has the EA888 2-liter Turbo 4 petrol engine, which makes 245 horsepower. It's front-wheel drive only, but thankfully it has a limited slip differential, which is essential when you're going on the track. It comes either with a 6-speed manual or, like the one we have today, a 7-speed DSG. I think the Golf GTI is a great car for the track. Even though it's not a track weapon, it still, gives the performance that you need to let you enjoy the track, but it's not overpowering you, it's not overwhelming, and it's a daily driver as well. So let's see how it fares out on the racetrack. All right, now we're out on the track. Already done one lap, so let's talk a little bit about the track. Now I'm just getting up Tiergarten, up into Hochwein. This is one of the highest parts of the track. Not the highest itself, but one of the highest. Getting into these sweeping corners up here. You can see the GP track right in front of you, but we're not going into the GP track. There's a sharp right-hand bend past the pits. And now we're getting down into Hatzenbach. This is a very technical section with multiple sweeping bends left and right as we make our way downhill. The GTI Performance Pack has 245 horsepower with the EA888 engine, which is a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder block. And it also has a limited slip differential, which I think is very much necessary
for a front-wheel drive car with that much power, especially out here on the track. The track conditions today are pretty good. It did rain yesterday, so you can see parts of the track is a little bit wet. There's also a little bit of fog in some sections of the track, so we have to be careful. I mean, that's one of the drawbacks of having such a long 20-kilometer track, is that while parts of the track like this here in Hatzenbach is very nice and dry and sunny, some areas are still wet and damp and really foggy. Now we're going over the bridge towards Flugplatz. A little bit of compression as we come downhill. As we make our way over the crest, dab on the brakes in a straight line, look into the corner, find the apex, run a little bit wide so that you're positioned well for the next corner like that. Up ahead I have the man himself, Benjamin Leuchter. So I'm just gonna follow his line, and I mean, I can't do much better than that myself anyway. Down into these very long straight, very high speed. Today we're not trying to break any records, so we're taking it at a leisurely pace, just to get an experience and have some fun. But that section of the track is very high speed. Now we're coming down into Arenberg. This is a very slow downhill, late apex, right-hand bend, swooping down into the Foxhole, which is another very fast section of the track. The GTI Performance pack really has a lot of grunt, a lot of torque low down in the rev range, but you want to keep it a little bit higher in the rev range, and that's where it really comes alive and becomes very sprightly. As you can see now, there's a little bit of fog and a little bit of dampness in the track. The car is squirming a little bit as it's getting compressed. Limited slip differential, of course, very useful. It's also good to have the lights on. Now we're coming into, personally, my most challenging part of the track, the Adenauer Forst. This left-hand turn is very sharp and very unpredictable if you're not sure what you're doing. On YouTube, you'll see a lot of guys, especially motorcyclists, because it's such a sharp bend, hitting the curb and going off into the field over there on the grass in the runoff. So it's a pretty tricky bend. Power on. I can barely see Benny through the fog. I see him braking, so I better too. The 7-speed DSG really is doing a great job on its own. I'm not trying to take over with the paddle shifters. Limited slip differential, oh my god, what would I do without it? Now we're coming downhill. We're making our way towards the most bottommost section of the track. This is one of my favorite parts of the track, actually. A lot of fun down here, but as you can see, also a lot of fog. Visibility is a bit limited at this moment. We're coming up into miss, hit, miss. You miss the first apex, you hit the second apex right there, and then you run wide for the third apex there, as you slowly power on. But again, I'm not trying to break any record today. I'm going to slow down. This is the tightest, or rather the slowest corner of the track, so we want to be extra safe here. Gently power on. This 2-liter engine also sounds really nice, very lively. The 7-speed DSG, like I mentioned, is doing a great job of keeping that engine in its sweet spot where it's making all the power. Now we're going down over the bridge. This is the lowest part of the track, and then a steep climb up Exmühle, which is a very slippery right-hand, very three-dimensional corner as you swoop up like a jet fighter, pulling up really hard on the stick. A lot of fog as well, and this part of the track, this is the infamous Niki Lauda link. It's a left turn where Niki Lauda lost control, hit the embankment over there just before Bergwerk, and unfortunately had a very terrible accident. One of my friends told me when we were on this track some years ago, the best way to take that corner is with a late apex. I think I missed it completely. Sorry about that. But now we're in the valley. This is a very high-speed section. Really tests your courage. Can you keep your foot down? Benny sure can. I don't know if I can. The car is squirming a little bit. A lot of fog. I see some traffic up ahead, so I'm going to lift a little bit. There's the slower traffic, so we need to brake as well. But in reality, if you have the guts and if you have the car, you can put your foot down, pin it. Cars reach over 250 kilometers per hour on this stretch. very beautiful section of the track. You can just stitch one corner with the next, just slowly flowing back and forth, keeping that balance of the car. And here's where a lot of people mess up. You need to slow down over here for this left hand because you think it's one, but there's two. And then you're in a bit of trouble. Seems like we've caught up with another team, so we're going to back off a little bit. Steering is also really great. This progressive rack also means that I never have to move away from this position. Very rarely do I have to shuffle my hands to get more lock. Very sunny because the track is a little bit moist. The sun is reflecting off of that and you have to be very careful. The seats are also pretty good, holding me in place really well. Now another fun part of the track, we're up into the carousel. This is also a very three-dimensional corner because you can go down into the bottom bumpy section. I can do this in the GTI, but depending on the car, you probably shouldn't. Like for example with the IDR, but you do lose a little bit of time if you go on the top, of course. Now we're getting up into Hoch 8, which is the highest section of the racetrack. And you can see here, there's a lot more sunshine, less fog. Hit the curbs sparingly because they're very moist and damp and you don't want to lose traction if you do hit them. Hard throttle, a little bit of brakes, lift off oversteer as the little bit of squirming, as you can see, but not that bad at all. That's the problem with these curbs. You want to use them so you can run wide and stay on power longer, but because of this weather, because they're damp, you lose a lot of traction the minute you touch them. Coming into Eschbach, down towards Brunchen. This is where you see a lot of spectators, and this is also a very infamous corner for YouTube. A lot of people oversteer. It's a very tricky off-camber bend. I'm going to let the Megane RS behind me overtake. Since I'm filming, I'm not as quick as him. You can go ahead, buddy. There you go. A lot of guys spinning off over here on the right-hand side, hitting the embankment, hitting the fence, hitting the railing. So you got to be very careful over there. But it does make for a lot of cool YouTube videos, nevertheless. Up this crest, blind, thread the needle. You got to know this corner, otherwise you're going to run wide like I did. Switch back and forth between these two curbs. Brake as you come down, compress with the car, look into the corner, run wide. Oh, this is a lot of fun. I mean, the Nürburgring, you would have heard about it so much, but you don't really know what to expect until you're here. And trust me, it's worth it. A big jump as we go over the crest, compress, dab on the brakes, look into the corner, switch back. Yeah, the seats are holding me in place really well. So this has the tartan seats with a little bit of side bolstering. The helmet, of course, means that my head is upright, which is always good. Steering is great. The engine sounds nice. We're gonna have a new Golf generation pretty soon, and I'm curious to see what they do with the next GTI. Now we're coming up to the mini carousel. Not as fun as the first one, but still a three-dimensional corner. You can take that in the lower part. Wow, enjoy the beautiful countryside with the fog. And we're almost towards the end of the track. Oh, a little bit of sliding over there. Very tricky section, a lot of off-camber bends. And then we're on the Dottinger Hoch, foot down, get up to top speed. My glasses are getting a little bit fogged up, but I'm gonna try to keep up with Benny. Keep a safe distance, lift off a little bit, just have some fun. And coming past the infamous Devil's Diner on the right-hand side, where the Touristenfahrten, the tourist drives start. There you can see on the right-hand side. That's where you would enter. And foot down, foot down. Wow, back up towards Tiergarten. Now is where we have to start braking as the car compresses, as you come through these switchbacks. Back towards the pit, back towards the GP track, and that is a lap. I'm gonna pull into the pits really quick, but man, what a lap. What a great car to experience the most amazing track in the world.
So how do you conquer a formidable racetrack like the Nürburgring? Well, don't take it from me. Romain Dumas, as I live and breathe. What an honor. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
So hopefully you can give us and the viewers a little bit of an idea about what it takes to conquer the Nuerburgring Nordschleife.
Well, Nordschleife, you know, it's first of all, it's the nicest track in the world. So when you are on Nordschleife, you're always happy. You know, with any cars you can drive this track, you have to do it. For sure, I know very well the place. You know, first time 24 hours was for me in 2007. So little bit of time, but I practice a lot here. And yeah, this year lucky to be here with the idea. For sure, it's not a track made for prototype. I mean, it was on the time with Beloff and so on. But since that, it was not often to see a sports car or prototype in this track. So with the idea, it will be a lot of fun for sure.
Well, you know, he's no stranger to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Of course, you're the four-time winner of the 24 hours. So let's talk a little bit about the IDR, the electric car that you're going to use to attempt to break the record for the electric car at the Nürburgring. What is the setup that you primarily want to change compared to the how it was for the Pikes Peak, where, by the way, if you don't know, Romain holds the overall record for the Pikes Peak climb, which is, again, fantastic. So what is the primary change that you think is essential to suit that car to the Nürburgring?
Well, Pikes Peak, you know, with the altitude, we start at 2,000 meters, we finish at 4,400. You need a lot of downforce because for sure, the air density is completely different than here in Nürburgring. So it's why in Pikes Peak we were using a big rear wing, a big front wing and so on. This we don't need here because big wing, front wing means a lot of downforce but also a lot of drag and not a lot of top speed. So for here, for Nürburgring, we develop a smaller rear wing with a DRS that we can open on a straight to have less downforce, and also a complete new front splitter to have less downforce, so this will be only for top speed. On top of that, we went from a ceramic brake to a carbon brake because for sure here we have a lot more top speed and we have a lot of more hard braking, so we had to change the brakes. And we also work a lot for everything in terms of battery management, in terms of recuperation during the braking. That will help us for sure because the biggest difference, and it's not easy for us here. In Pikes Peak, you don't have a lot of straight. You reach one time 240 km per hour. Then here at this track, you are often at 240. And for the battery management, for sure, we will use the same batteries than in Pikes Peak because we didn't want to develop a complete car. It will be tough, you know, in terms of battery management because a lot of straight here. And unfortunately, the last straight is the longest. The Tinaher is 4 km full gas, but it's at the end of the lap. So we will have to play very good with the battery.
Well, I wish you all the best. And one last question before I let you go. Do you take the carousel on the top or on the bottom?
Unfortunately, with the idea, we'll be on the top because on the bottom, if we drive here, we will for sure damage the underfloor, even explode the underfloor. So we have to go on top. But on a GT, you have to use the inside.
I'm here with Romain Dumas.
Yeah, hello, hi.
And you're driving the 6-speed manual. Wow. I think first I need to learn the track a lot better before I try to do the track on a manual car.
Yeah, but you know, for me, I'm driving here for more than 10 years, so I know where are the corners, let's say like that.
Yeah, you know which gear you need to be in, coming out of which corner. So what do you think about the GTI Performance Pack?
I'm quite surprised. I tried this morning already 2 laps. And I have to say, first of all, I was very happy to see a nice H gearbox, you know, like that, you know. And no, the car is very, very fast, very strong. Good torque on the engine, as you can see. As soon as you apply the throttle. So, yeah. And in terms of suspension, also, you know, Nordschleife is very difficult because you have a lot of crests and so on. And the car is very stable, so a lot of fun so far.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's an interesting car. It's of course, hot hatches are great for tracks like this where it's very technical, and if you know, front wheel drive always means that you don't oversteer that often, and that's a little bit safer than having a powerful rear wheel drive car. So let's talk a little bit about the track. What is your favorite section of the track?
I have to say, you know, in Nordschleife you will find everything: slow corner, fast corner, blind corner, everything. So at the end, I don't have really, you know, completely sections that I like. I think I have 2 or 3 corners that I don't like, definitely, because I don't know why, possible I don't feel well on it. But the rest is all very nice. I mean, this section right now, what we are coming, is all flat until the chicane. So you really need to have a perfect line. Sorry, look how nice it is right now. So you have everything in this track.
So you said you don't like 2 or 3 sections of the track. Which are those sections that you don't like?
Yeah, I'm coming there just now, so I will explain you why. Yeah, 2 or 3 places are quite tricky. I mean, in Nürburgring, you know, as you see, you don't have gravel band, you have grass and barrier. So for sure, you can take a lot of risk. But in some place, you know that if you do a mistake, when we are doing a 24-hour race, or even if you do a quali run, it will be finished. So one corner is coming. This one, if you see, it's a left corner downhill. You don't see the apex. Until that, everything is fine, it's no problem. The only hard point, look on exit, is quite narrow and you have nothing. You have a very small curb, and as you see, it's a lot of mud because a lot of people crash here. As soon as you will touch the curb, you are on the grass and on a wall. So it's a kind of corner. You can gain a little bit of time, but you can lose everything.
Wow, well, very well said. For me, it's the Adenauer Forst. There's that really, you're coming up that really nice fast section, and then there's this terrible, very tight left-hand turn, and if you miss it, you go straight over the crest and, you know, into the grass. And on YouTube, you see so many motorcyclists, especially, they're too fast, and there's no way they can make that bend, so they just end up going over it. I also really like this section. My favorite corner is miss, hit, miss. I think this would be it. You know, you miss the first one, you hit the second one, and then you miss the third one again. I think it's such a cool name for a corner, and such a cool way to take that. Yeah, I think this is perhaps also a very technical, slow area. So in the, you know, when you're doing a standard competition race, what is the average speed through this section? This is the downhill technical section that you're carrying. You know, because most of these corners are some of the slowest corners in the entire racetrack.
Yes, for sure. I mean, Nordschleife is very, let's say, it's not a slow track. It's quite a high-speed track. We are only using 3 times in a lap the second gear. So when you see that, you know, all this section is 3rd, 4th gear, even more. This is 3rd gear. Very difficult corner also here. You need to have a very good traction here. But at the end of the day, the average speed is very high in Nordschleife, and it's why it's important to have a very good downforce kit, you know, because like a corner like that, the Lauda corner is flat, you know, it's not a corner anymore, but you need a really stable car. Here, Bergwerk, you know, it's bumpy on braking, but look the rest. I mean, it's a this is also 3rd gear. You shift the 4th gear here. A corner like that, the minimum speed is around 135 km/h. And after it's all flat for minimum 2 kilometers. So there also you need very stable car. You see, you have a small crest, but all this section is completely flat. And it's very important to carry the speed, because after the small kink here, who is very tricky on the rain, here you can overtake some cars. So yeah, it's Nordschleife is very now very fast track.
Yeah, this is a very fast part of the track. You need a lot of courage to keep it pinned. And you know, when people overestimate their car and overestimate the traction, this is the corner right here where they lose it, and it all goes downhill from there. You know, yeah. But I think what is the top speed that, you know? I think this is probably one of the fastest sections, apart from the Dortinger Hook, of course. But what is the highest speed that you carry through this section? Let's say in the 24-hour car or in the IDR.
With the 24-hour car here, we arrive at 240 km per hour. All the section we are around that, and it will be more or less the same, or a little bit more with the IDR for sure.
And yesterday you were telling me with the IDR you take the carousel on the top because the undercarriage can be damaged, but I think it's always more fun to drop it into this over here. And would you say that you gain a little bit more time if you go on the inside of the carousel, or because it's so bumpy you end up slowing down anyway and it might be better to go on the top? What is your, because I've heard people say, you know, because you're always trying to slow down, it's so bumpy, you shed so much of speed on the inside that it doesn't make sense, you might as well stay on the top.
The problem on the top, first of all, nobody is going on the top, so it's always dirty with a lot of paint on a tarmac. So it's very slippery. So at the end, for sure you will, I think your minimum speed will be a little bit higher on the top, but I will say maximum 5 km per hour, but it's a longer way if you go on the top. So I think going down still quickest.
Absolutely. So this area is pretty cool. A lot of sweeping bends, using a lot of the curb. Try to cut as much of the apexes as possible. The car is also compressed as you come over to the bottom of these hills. This is also a very popular spectator section of the track. You know, a lot of YouTube videos here as well of people overestimating the amount of traction they have and grip they have, and losing it over here and oversteering and hitting the barrier. You're doing a phenomenal job. What do you say? What's your tip for taking Brunchen? What is the best way to take the corners?
Brunchen, you have first of all, after the curb outside, you always have a little bit of room. So you have to use all the track, not carrying too much speed into the corner, but keep it rolling, because you have some banking in Brunchen, you have good grip. So there you can really keep the car rolling, keep some minimum speed, and you will gain some time.
And I also heard it's a big no-no to hit the curb, because that will also push you out wide and then understeer and you lose control.
For sure, here in Nordschleife, the inside curb are all very high. So normally you really try to avoid it, because if you take it, it destabilizes the car more than it will help you.
So we went over a small jump. So what is your tip for these jumps? You know, there's several of them throughout the track. You know, I guess if you're driving a car with a lot of downforce, it's not really a big issue because the car still sticks to the track. But with the GTI Performance, for example, if you hit it at a higher speed, you will be airborne for a little bit of time. What are your tips for that?
You know, when you jump, it's not a problem. You need to be sure to be at the right line and not to have a lot of steering angle, because when you will land, if your wheels are not straight, you will crash. But at the end of the day, so it means before the jump, you have to have the right line, you have to have the car at the right place on track, and after it will be okay.
Yeah, so just line up the car before the jump, keep the wheels straight, and then when you land, just hit the brakes afterwards.
Exactly, you get it.
All right, so now we're on the Dortinger Hook, the high speed, straight. Let's see how fast we can go.
Yeah, we try. You know, it's a long straight, depends on the car. I can see somebody is catching us with a Porsche. We have to accelerate a little bit. So
yeah, we're getting 216, 220. I think you've left everybody behind us for dust, 230. Now this is the high-speed section. What is the average speed that you do here on one of your regular competition spec cars?
With the GT now, you can expect here to go at on a downhill 260. Around this section now is flat with the compression. After you have to take this chicane flat. This morning is a little damp, so take care. And after you brake very hard for the last chicane.
Fantastic. Romain, you're a legend. Fantastic. Thanks for taking me on this taxi lap. And good luck for the IDR record and just good luck overall.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I had a great time today here at the Nürburgring, driving the Volkswagen Golf GTI Performance. If you're a true car enthusiast, you have to come here once at least. There's plenty of race car rentals nearby which you can go to and pick up a nice little hot hatch to drive the racetrack on, but it's something you have to do at least once. I think I've learned a lot about the track talking to Romain Dumas, Benny and some of the other race car drivers here, and I really hope to see them beat the record for the electric car. I think it'll be very interesting to see how they can manage that. And of course, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.